Preparation for life after graduation, I would like for you to join me for 4 inspiring webinars that will be presented for only 19 minutes and 12 seconds with 5 successful U of M alumni. Why 19 minutes and 12 seconds? Well, it commemorates the founding of the University of Memphis in 1912. On today's webinar, I have U of M alumna Nikki Walker. Nikki is an enthusiastic human resources, talent acquisition, and training professional with a knack for innovative approaches to conventional practices. She is a zealot for creativity and tackling future-oriented challenges with little information. She has a successful track record overseeing diverse areas of responsibility, including leadership development, employee relations, staff recruitment, training and development, engagement programs, and HR analytics. She is currently serving as a talent acquisition, university relations, and immigration manager at AutoZone Incorporated, and is responsible for the company's successful internship program. She has her undergraduate degree in criminal justice with a minor in legal thought from the University of Memphis, and her master's degree in human resources and employment from Penn State. She is an active member of her community, working with the Young Women's Philanthropists, New Memphis Institute, and United Way. Nikki is a native Memphian, yay, who has held progressive human resources roles in various industries, from multifamily housing to financial services to advertising to retail. She has lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Denver, Colorado, but decided to return to Memphis 7 years ago to contribute to the growth and revitalization of the Memphis community. She has been with AutoZone Incorporated since February 2016 and continues to develop and learn as a strategic human resources leader. Thank you, Nikki, for joining us. So, Nikki, what is the key to a successful, to being a success in interviewing?
Confidence. So you must have confidence in yourself, in your story, and your qualifications. Anytime that you have confidence in what you are selling and what you are talking about, people can read that. And whether that's in a virtual setting or in person, people notice confidence. Now you have to be careful that it doesn't go into being cocky. So there's a very fine line between confidence and cocky. So make sure that you're walking that line and staying confident, not cocky.
I like that, having that confidence to go in, right foot forward,
yes,
confident, straight back. So how do you prepare for an interview?
Absolutely. Preparation is key for an interview with any company. So you want to start with researching the company, then laying out the job description. So the job description is the company's way to tell you exactly what they're looking for in that role, in that position, and on that team. So laying out that job description and laying out your resume and laying them over and finding what stories you have to demonstrate that information. So a recruiter is looking for those examples. So how have you done this in the past, or are you planning to do it in the future? And so really having those sound bites and your story about who you are, what you can bring to the organization and bring into this role is key in preparing for an interview.
I like that, having good sound bites to present to an interview that are probably just enough to keep someone interested, but not too much to make the interview boring.
I honestly take my resume and I write out keywords right beside each of the bullet points. And so if someone says, well, tell me how you did this job here, or what is this bullet example of? I write little keywords that kind of jog my memory like a mnemonic device to say, okay, that's what I want to bring up with that example.
I like that. Sort of using your own resume as a script for your interview.
Yeah.
That's great. I like that. Now, how do virtual and in-person interviews differ, and how are they similar?
So we're in the world of virtual now, and I don't think we'll be unwinding that anytime soon. So the structure is the same. virtual interview, in person is still just an interview. And we're going to ask questions. We're going to see how you respond under pressure. We're going to be noticing your body language and how you use your hands. Your energy has to be way up. But the delivery is different. In person, there's nuances. There's, like I said, more body language cues. There's the way you carry yourself. There is how you arrive to a situation. There's a lot more context clues, right? And in the virtual setting, we're looking at your background, obviously, but we're also making sure that you're answering our questions. So we're listening a lot more to what you're saying versus how you're saying it.
So I like that. So with a virtual, you might want to make sure that you take down those rock and roll posters, or, hide the little paraphernalia, Christmas lights. Or,
yes, very important.
And then for the in-person interview, it's, I guess, how you look and how you're positioned, and sort of always trying to stay in control of self and how you may look to other people.
Yes, I have found that in person, people have a lot of nervous tics and they're not even aware of it, whether it's playing with your hair, it's checking your watch, it's touching your ring or your jewelry, it's clicking your pen. People just have a lot of nervous energy when they're interviewing, and some of that energy comes out in tics or little nervous activities that they're doing, rocking back and forth in their chair or swiveling, and it's really distracting to an interview. I have found in virtual, those are downplayed a lot because generally you're seated, you're in your own environment, so you feel totally comfortable sitting in your bedroom or your office or your kitchen, so you don't have as many of the nervous tics, but you do have to be aware of what that person is seeing and how that's representing you when you're interviewing in your own home, in your space.
Good food for thought. I like that.
Yeah.
What is a recruiter looking for during an interview?
So I boiled this down to 3 C's: culture, capabilities, contribution. So we are trying to make sure that this candidate is a cultural match, because that's really important in any organization, that you fit into the culture, that the values that you demonstrate are the same values of the company, and that your motivation and your, what's driving you to move forward in your career with this new opportunity is there at this organization. So that's part of the culture conversation. And then capabilities. Are you representing your capabilities and what technical skills you bring to the role? What you can deliver to the company when you start in this role. And then contributions. How are you going to be different? How are you going to be the same? How are you going to deliver on the promises that you're making in the interview and then through your resume? And so those 3 C's are really, as a recruiter, what I'm looking for. Those are the questions I'm asking. That's why I'm asking them, is to get to those 3 C's.
I like that, especially the culture, because sometimes I think when, especially as a new graduate going into the workforce, you look for the big company and you think of the name and you only see, oh, I can make this much money at this place. But you don't think about how you're going to fit in and work with, and it's a give-take situation. They're not just, they're not going to pay you this huge salary to not fit in and work with developing and progressing the culture of the organization. So I like, and then the capabilities also. When you're, and that goes back to what you were talking about, research, researching the organization that you want to work for. Do you have what it takes to work there and contribute to the organization? So
yeah, and do your own research, meaning like on yourself, and know what motivates you, what drives you, what type of environment do you like? Do you like a huge organization? You want to work for a large organization like AutoZone that has 96,000 employees, or do you prefer a small environment that has under 100? Those are incredibly different. They're going to have pros and cons on both sides. And this is one of the reasons why I always recommend an internship while you're in school. I did 3 internship programs while I was at the University of Memphis, and it really helped direct my education, my career choices, even my organization choices, because I started realizing how important certain values were to me in the workplace, and that certain environments I tend to perform better in. And so that was research on myself, and then that helps me to drive my career in a positive way.
That's great. That's great. What questions should I, in an interview, ask during an interview?
So this kind of goes back to the the question before about culture and capabilities. So I put them in two categories. When you're interviewing, it is your responsibility as the candidate to interview the company just as much as they are interviewing you. Going back to knowing yourself, knowing what you're going to be successful in, knowing what type of environment you like, what type of manager you need to kind of grow you in a positive way. This goes back to even like having a professor. You know, you have professors in school that you love and they get the best out of you. You can't wait to go to their class. You can't wait to participate in the discussions. You can't wait to absorb some of that energy. And then you have professors that are kind of the opposite. And knowing those kinds of things about what you like, what you don't like. And so asking questions that are directed toward finding out if this is a culture that is a match for you is really important. So what does success look like at AutoZone? What does someone in this role, what do you expect them to deliver in the first 90 days? So are their expectations realistic? And then kind of what is the career path that somebody can expect when they come into this role, and what is the next step for them? Those are kind of culture questions. And then I always advise everyone that I talk to about interviewing to ask about qualifications. So does the interviewer have any other questions about your qualifications or your experience as it relates to this role? You never want to leave an interview with them still having questions. And so I always use that as like the last closer to kind of also reiterate, I really want this position. I really want to work for this organization. I'm even more interested now than before I came in to interview. And I want to make sure that you don't have any questions about how I can fit into this company or organization.
I like that last one because I've sat in on interview panels, and when the person leaves, someone will say, well, you know, she didn't elaborate on this, or I would have liked for him to go deeper into that or say something like that. So I like that. I think that's great advice.
Yeah. And, you know, I will listen to panels do feedback and they'll say, I really loved him or her, but I'm not sure they really want to work here. And you're going, oh, what a miss. You know, they obviously came to interview, they obviously asked good questions, but they never showed any enthusiasm for the organization or the role. And people want to give the job to the person who wants it the most. It's just psychology.
I like that. Enthusiasm, I like that. Yeah. Go awake. What is the hardest question you've asked in an interview?
Ooh, the hardest question. Okay, so this is the one that always stumps everyone, and I've asked it C-suite executives to intern candidates, and that is, when is the last time you failed?
Wow.
This is not a strengths or weaknesses. There is no way to spin this question from a positive that sounds like a negative. We are really looking for, can you own up to a misstep? Can you call yourself on a failure? Are you introspective enough to say, I really dropped the ball in this project, or I did not deliver this deliverable, and here's what happened, and here's how I make sure it doesn't happen in the future? That's the answer we're looking for. But you can't imagine the amount of people who just go totally blank. I mean, like
what?
Huh? Or they say things like, I can't remember the last time I failed. And you're like,
really?
Really? I can wait. I mean, you're just like, I want to hear something. And I think if you're not prepared for it, particularly in an interview setting, because we're not trying to stump you. That's not the goal. But if you're not prepared, you're so in the mindset of positive, sell myself, be confident, know my story, that something like that can really kind of throw you off your game. And it's about, how do you respond to that? And then how do you, come back around to what you're going to do different in the future. That's
good. I like that. I really like that, because you really did throw me when I was like, what? Wait a minute. I have to
How would I respond?
Yeah, how would I respond to that? So, how can I improve my interview skills if I think if I give bad interviews? Yes,
practice makes perfect. Interviewing is a skill. And it is something that if you do not practice it, you become rusty at. It's like riding a bike. But if you practice it, if you video record yourself answering some, top interview questions. Google it. There's, top 10, top 20, top 50 most popular interview questions. Record yourself saying those answers, and then, or have somebody that you trust give you feedback. And believe me, you'll be surprised on what you hear, even when I interview. So because I do this for a living, I'm used to being on this side of the table. But when I go in to a job interview as a candidate, I still have my practice partner run through some questions, let me get my story straight, let me get my examples tightened, because it is something that if you're not doing it all the time, it really does kind of become rusty, and you really want that to be sharp and crisp and clean.
I like that. What should I wear in an interview? I mean, we think sometimes that people get it, but they sort of miss the memo. So what's good advice on what I should wear in an interview?
And this is tough because some of it is a little cultural, and it all kind of comes from where you come from in life. I came from a family where I was the first to graduate college in my entire family. And so I didn't have these examples of professional men and women who I could model my wardrobe after. And so that was something I kind of learned the hard way. But I will tell you, my thought process on wardrobe attire is conservative but memorable. We're going to see a lot of candidates in any role in any organization. We're going to interview 5 to 7 people for any one position. And you want something that's muted, like a muted suit, gray, navy. Black is a little harsh, but black also works. But a memorable piece, like a top or a tie that has good color. I'm wearing a bright navy top today, and that is something that's bringing color and energy. So someone could say, oh, remember the girl that was wearing the navy top, or the red tie as something. But also try not to do a lot of accessories, jewelry and clanking of bracelets, and that's more of a female trait. Big earrings or really ostentatious shoes really divert the attention to your outfit and not what you're saying. So you want them to listen to your experience and not be totally distracted by all of this.
A glow stick jumpsuit,
Yes. I used to have a bad habit of playing with my hair. And so a lot of times in interviews, I will make a low bun just so that I take the distraction away. I don't have the option to play with it. So I usually do a low bun, for instance.
So, and now what should I never do during an interview?
You should never go negative, ever. Even if we ask you, what is the worst experience working in an organization? You should always speak positively about the organization, about the class, about the professor, about the boss. Any type of question should be positive, but you should lay out the story in a way that's still that shows integrity and truth. So don't go negative. Don't say, I hate so-and-so, or I don't like this organization because this reason. You can talk about environments that weren't positive or that you were not successful in without being negative to that brand or that employer, because honestly, as an employer, we want someone who can be respectful and have, maturity.
Nikki, 6 seconds. I want to thank you so much for this. It was wonderful to talk to you for 19 minutes and 12 seconds. I look forward to talking to you later.